How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we're gonna be doing the three-word game. It's inspired by Colin Cowherd. It's honestly one of my favorite things that he does on his television show. It's like the one thing that I for sure have to tune into, because you don't really hear people talk about all 32 NFL teams, even in some capacity. You know, a lot of people just focus on the teams that are generating the money, like the Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, the New England Patriots, and, you know, basically the teams in New York or Los Angeles. You don't really get to hear people give their thoughts, even in a brief segment, about all 32 teams, unless you're watching the NFL Network. Even then, they don't really touch on every team as much as you think they should. So this is kind of some good insight, and I figured, you know, it's a pretty inspirational idea. I'm pretty sure I did it last year on YouTube when Madden 19 came out. So I'm going to be doing it here, man. I'm going to be giving you the three-word game. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible, but if I ramble on, I'll try to catch myself. Let's just see how it goes. I'm going to be doing it, by the way, for the AFC teams and whatnot. I'm going to be doing it for the AFC teams, which is why you see like the New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns on my screen in practice mode. These aren't the teams that I think will play in the AFC Championship, by the way. These are just the two heavy favorites betting wise by Vegas, so don't read into it too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't read into it too much. But we're going to be doing the AFC teams today. We have all 16 teams over there in the AFC. We're going to start with the AFC East and cap it off with the AFC North. I'll try to put all of the quotes, well, I won't try, I'll just actually do it for a change. I'll try to put all of the quotes on the screen so you guys will be able to see it in case you don't catch what I'm saying. So here we go. Without further ado, let's start off with the Miami Dolphins, and my three-word phrase for them is Will Rosen blossom. That's right, man. Josh Rosen, of course, was traded from the Arizona Cardinals to the Miami Dolphins. He is in this new situation in the second year of his career. Ryan Fitzpatrick's beating him out for the quarterback job or whatever. Brian Flores did come out recently and say that he is starting to progress a lot more. But my question is, if he's given that opportunity this season to show what he can do more, which, trust me, it will come. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick we're talking about. Will Rosen blossom? That's basically the big phrase right there. For the New York Jets, my three-word phrase for them is improvement from Sam. And a lot of it has to be, you know, because he has to improve, but improvement from Sam. You know, you bring in Le'Veon Bell, Jamison Crowder. You made a trade the other day for Alex Lewis, who's going to be good O-line depth. You bring in Kelechi Osemele in a trade in the offseason. Not to mention on the defensive side of the ball, going and getting C.J. Mosley, who was one of the top 10 free agents, arguably, in this class. And you go out and you sign two of the top 10 guys, and Le'Veon Bell and C.J. Mosley, and I thought that was very important for this team. So they made a lot of improvements, and I feel like because of that, we'll probably see a more confident and a better Sam Darnold because of that. Now with the Buffalo Bills, Redskins of AFC. Now that just seems a little harsh, but they're basically the Washington Redskins of the AFC. It's like we have a feeling how good they can be, but they could end up surprising us. Like, the Buffalo Bills last season, I believe they were 7-9. They could be like 8-8, you know, 9-7, 10-6. You just never know. Or they could be 5-11. And I feel like the Washington Redskins definitely fall into that category as well, which is why I named the Buffalo Bills and the three-phrase game the Redskins of the AFC. And for the New England Patriots, their quote is going to be, "What's Father Time?" Because Tom Brady's 42 years old. I know he's not playing at the elite level that he once did, but he's still a very good quarterback out there. And he just won the Super Bowl. You know, like, I know he didn't play the greatest, but he did make the throws necessary when he needed to. I get it. He's not wowing anybody. You know, he's throwing a bunch of checkdowns. But, you know, Josh McDaniels is doing a good job playing to his strengths. Brady's never been the greatest quarterback under pressure, so when you have time to get the ball out, it's a good thing. So what's Father Time? I don't think anyone knows anymore because Tom Brady has defied it. Now let's go to the AFC West. Starting with the Oakland Raiders, we have, for their three-word phrase, Gruden and Antonio. Now, this is an interesting one. I said Gruden and Antonio because outside of those two personalities in Oakland, the head coach and their star wide receiver, what is there really to talk about? Their move to Las Vegas. I mean, I could have just made the quote like Gruden, Antonio in Vegas, but really the only two things to talk about that matter to some degree would be Gruden and Antonio. They're on Hard Knocks. They're going to be followed throughout the season. Antonio Brown, in terms of his fantasy value, that's going to be a question slightly because, Derek Carr is a downgrade from Big Ben Roethlisberger, regardless of how people feel about Derek Carr. So it's just going to be interesting. Those are really the only two things to talk about in Oakland, at least from my perspective. For the Denver Broncos, my 3-word phrase is, "This ain't 2015." They feel like they're just going to bring in another veteran quarterback, bring in another defensive mind, and they're just going to turn this ship around and win a Super Bowl. Newsflash, it's 2019. The league is offensive-oriented, and that's not how you win football games. You can't bring in another veteran quarterback, insert him onto a roster that's just kind of confusing right now, and just say that Joe Flacco is going to save you guys and win a Super Bowl. I'm going to go ahead and predict that doesn't happen. They may not even make the playoffs, which for some people is a certainty. For me, I'm not going to rule it out because we have seen crazier things happen, and it's a long season. Some teams could fall out of the race. Some teams could have a catastrophic injury, but I hope not. But it happens every year. But Denver, this ain't 2015. For the Kansas City Chiefs, regression but upgraded. Now that just seems like a contradicting 3-word phrase right there, but to me they're not going to be 12-4 with Mahomes throwing for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, but they did upgrade. Their defense definitely upgraded regardless of how people feel about D Ford and Justin Houston. They brought in Frank Clark, who I think is a better player than D Ford. They both had similar sack production, so you can't really say that one is better than the other in that aspect, but Frank Clark to me is just a better overall football player. They made a trade to get Emmanuel Ogbah, who will be good defensive line depth. They also drafted Kalen Saunders in the 3rd round, which I thought was a good pick for them. And they have Derek Nandi, who is a really good run defender. So their defensive line is now starting to have some depth. And also in the secondary, they drafted Juan Thornhill in the 2nd round. And also they signed Tyrann Mathieu to a 3-year deal. So you have two, safeties, and you definitely needed to upgrade the safety position, and they were able to do that. So for me, they did get better defensively, but they are still going to regress a little bit. They're playing on a harder schedule, and to me, they're not going to be 12-4 with a crazy-ass season like that. And for the Los Angeles Chargers, their 3-word quote will be, "No slow starts." It seems to be the thing that always hinders the Chargers. Like, they're a very good football team. They have a top 5 roster in the league, and they're a team that could mess around and get to the Super Bowl, but I think something that always hinders this team is slow starts. Like last year, I'm pretty sure they went like 1-3 or 0-4, and a lot of that had to do because of field goals, because of special teams. Like they just couldn't hit a field goal to save their life, and it really hindered this team. I feel like they're kind of they kind of do it to themselves because of the whole kicker thing, but at the same time, it's like, damn, this team is too talented to be losing because of a kicker, because of some struggles from the kicker, you know what I'm saying? So that's just something the Chargers are going to have to get over. They can't have any slow starts if they want to be considered a Super Bowl favorite. Now going to the AFC South for the Jacksonville Jaguars, my 3-word phrase for them is, what's their ceiling? I think Jacksonville is one of the more intriguing teams in the NFL, not because I think that they're good or they're bad, but it's just because I don't know. I'm having a hard time trying to figure it out. We assume, and I'm one of those guys that assumes, this as well, but Nick Foles, we've seen what he looks like outside of Philadelphia, and that's a fringe starter to a backup quarterback. And with Philadelphia, he's just a different person. I mean, it is what it is. But what's this team's ceiling? Like, even if everyone plays at 100% to their capability, what's their ceiling? Are they a playoff team? Are they a fringe playoff team? Or are they a team drafting in the top 10 again? That's just something we don't know, and it's something I'd like to get to the bottom to. And what Nick Foles are we going to get? That's also something we have to keep in consideration. For the Houston Texans, protect Deshaun, please. Deshaun Watson was the quarterback that got sacked the most, and he is a mobile quarterback, which is just, it's insane to think about, that he is a mobile quarterback, but yet he was sacked the most out of all quarterbacks last year. It's just kind of strange to me, but it happens, I guess. It's very interesting, but they need to protect him. If they want to have a chance to win, they have to hold their blocks for an extra second for Deshaun Watson to make those plays that he can make for your team. For the Tennessee Titans, Mariota's health status. Mariota had a bunch of lingering issues, and lingering injuries last year, and because of that, I really thought the Titans kind of underachieved, man, because it came down to week 17 with Blaine Gabbert as their starting quarterback to have to win this game against the Colts, and they just weren't able to do it. Not saying Mariota would have made things different, but obviously Mariota's a better quarterback than Blaine Gabbert. I don't really think there's a question when it comes to that, but Mariota's health status is definitely something you have to keep in mind. I feel like when he's healthy, you have the best chance to win, and it's just something you're going to have to figure out, like I said. And finally, for the Indianapolis Colts, over the hump. Listen, this Colts team last year overachieved by a mile. A lot of people expected them to be like a 4-win, 5-win team. They end up going 9-1 down the stretch, and it was just something a lot of people didn't expect. They end up being a playoff team. They win a wild card game against their division rival Houston Texans, but then they get, ran out the building by the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And then, here we are thinking they're going to be this 12-4 team, a team that's going to win the Super Bowl, or at least be in the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship. So there's a lot of expectations now on the Colts. And my question is, can they actually get over that hump? Last season, there wasn't expectations on them. A lot of people just thought they would be a bad team. They just got Andrew Luck back. We don't really know what Andrew Luck we're going to get. Now that we know that Andrew Luck is basically back to being Andrew Luck, he does have this minor calf injury. He's going to play week 1. That's what I keep hearing, so I am expecting him to play. But will the Indianapolis Colts, as a football team, not just Andrew Luck, but as a football team, are they going to get over that hump? Are you going to enter Kansas City, LA Chargers, New England Patriots territory, or are you going to continue to be in that Houston Texans category where you're a really good team, but you're not good enough to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? Finally, for the AFC North, for the Cincinnati Bengals, this is a little harsh, but least interesting team. Now, for the record, I actually think all 32 teams have something interesting about them, some sort of redeeming quality, but the Cincinnati Bengals, to me, just aren't that interesting of a team. I mean, let's just call it like it is. I don't think they're that interesting of a team, mainly because it's going to be the same story, but just a different season. They're going to be 5-11, 6-10, and they have a new coach, Zach Taylor, which, that's fine. But this team, to me, just didn't do much to get better. They got Jonah Williams in the first round, and he's already out for the season. And that was their big pick or whatever. Yes, they had a nice draft overall. They brought in Jermaine Pratt, who can probably get some linebacker time. They brought in Drew Sample at tight end, who could be a nice complimentary second tight end for this team if Tyler Eifert can stay healthy for more than 6 weeks. They had a decent draft. If you actually go back and look at their draft, it was actually pretty good. But to me, they didn't really do a whole lot to upgrade. They didn't do a whole lot to help themselves now in a division where it looks like a 2 or 3 team race, which it's just interesting. It's mind-blowing to me as well. Speaking of 2 or 3 team race, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. My 3-word phrase for them is the talent show. They have one of the most talented rosters in the league. They have one of the best rosters on paper. But the reason I call them the talent show is because I don't know how many games they're actually going to win. Last year they won 7 games with no expectations on them. This season, outside of the New England Patriots, they're like the Super Bowl favorite according to Vegas. and they're gonna have to show me something. Now, I am a believer in the Cleveland Browns. I've been saying for years that I'm waiting on these guys to be good because I know that their time is coming, but it's not a talent show. You know what I'm saying? And it feels like they're auditioning for a talent show because they have one of the best rosters in the league, but it's a results league, so they need to figure it out. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's Juju's team. It's 100% Juju's team, whether the Steelers or Steeler fans want to admit it or not. It's Juju Smith-Schuster's team for sure. And, you know, Juju's already one of the best players that they have on the team. He proved it last season, and this season he's going to be wide receiver number 1. Can't wait to see what he actually does for the Pittsburgh Steelers and how the Steelers end up looking, because they could be a playoff team again, or they could be a team that just misses out. So, you never know. And then for the Baltimore Ravens, finally, Lamar's a quarterback. You know, like, I know it's a meme, and I made a 20-minute video about it, but everyone's always saying, oh, Lamar Jackson's a running back, blah, 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 you know, and I gave you guys all the stats, but a lot of people in the Baltimore Ravens facility and a lot of NFL, like, people in general are saying that Lamar Jackson is getting better. He looks a lot better out there, and I know people are going to say it's training camp, but if it's about your favorite team, then you're going to put a lot of stock into it. Now, the Ravens, of course, aren't my favorite team. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. But, you know, if it's your favorite team and a player is just doing well or whatever, you're going to be like, oh, shit, you know, he could be the missing piece, or this guy looked really good, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, when people are saying Lamar's getting better, the critics or the people that are hating, whatever you want to classify them as, will just say, well, you know, we got to see it on the field. It's just training camp. But if it's their favorite team, it's like, oh, this guy could be the missing piece. He looks really good out there. I can't wait to see what he's going to bring. And it's like, you know, people are just so hypocritical like that. For me, Lamar's getting better. Earl Thomas just doesn't put praise on anybody. Even when he was in Seattle, he didn't really put high praise on anyone. So for him to actually say this, I'm going to believe what he's saying over what some dude on Facebook is saying or some dude on Twitter is saying. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed, man. Like I said, I'm going to put all the quotes or the 3-word phrases on the screen. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, man. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and peace out.